Hey everybody, it's Chris, and today I am going to be talking about the Celestial Patron Warlock. I am doing some deep dives into the subclasses in the 2024 Player's Handbook and giving ratings to all their features. And the purpose of that is that I wanted to see how much they've improved from their previous iterations in 2014 so that we can look at them compared to the other subclasses for Warlock that exist and see how they compare, which I will do in a final ranking video. So I have already done a video on the Archfey Patron, which was my last release video. And then before that, I went over all the invocations for Warlocks as well that are in the 2024 Player's Handbook. So, you can go through my history, and those will be my last two videos. Right now, we are doing the Celestial Patron. And the Celestial Patron originally was published, it's not from the 2014 Player's Handbook. It was originally published in Xanathar's Guide to Everything, which was basically the first book that was released for 5th edition that had a whole bunch of subclasses in it. And the Celestial Patron was published right alongside the Hexblade. The Hexblade kind of took over all discussion and all builds that involve Warlock, and Celestial was almost never seen. It was almost forgotten. When I saw Celestial was going to be part of the 2024 rules, I was pretty excited because I was hoping to get a big glow up. It has not gotten a big glow up. It is very similar to the way it is in Xanathar's. It has, however, gotten a bit of a glow up because there are improvements. There's nothing that's worse, and everything that's changed is better. So it is better than it used to be. And because the 2024 rules have some basic, standards for Warlock subclasses that are just better than previous Warlock subclasses, it gives it an advantage there as well. So let's take a look at the features, and we're going to start at level 3. So we'll start with Celestial Spells, and basically we are going to get Aid, Cure Wounds, Guiding Bolt, Lesser Restoration, Light, and Sacred Flame. And that might seem like a big list because it is. Normally, a Warlock would get 2 first-level spells and 2 second-level spells here. But here we're going to get 2 cantrips as well. That's why there's 6. And that's Light and Sacred Flame. The other thing I want to mention here is that in every Warlock that is not in the 2024 Player's Handbook, the spells that are going to get are an expanded spell list, meaning they must prepare them. These are automatically prepared in addition to your regular preparations, which is a huge improvement, especially for Celestial Patron, because look at these spells. Now, the two that really stand out are Aid and Cure Wounds. First off, these are not spells that Warlocks can normally cast. In fact, none of these spells are spells that Warlocks can cast. And as we go up in level, there's not a single spell on the Celestial spell list that Warlocks can normally cast. But Aid and Cure Wounds stand out specifically because they're healing spells, and that's a niche of spell casting that Warlocks normally can't fill. And secondly, these two spells work especially well with pack slots, because pack slots automatically gain levels as you do, and Aid and Cure Wounds automatically get a lot better when you cast them with higher level spell slots. So both Aid and Cure Wounds scale very, very well. So when I am casting Cure Wounds with a first level pack slot, it's a good spell. When I cast it with a 5th level pack slot, you heal a ton of hit points if you use a 5th level spell slot. So yeah, they both remain very good even at high levels. And then we get our other feature, which is Healing Light, which says you gain the ability to channel celestial energy to heal wounds. You have a pool of d6s to fuel this healing. The number of dice in this pool equals 1 plus your Warlock level. As a bonus action, you can heal yourself or one creature you can see within 60 feet of yourself, expending dice from the pool. The maximum number of dice you can expand at once equals your Charisma modifier, and you roll the dice you expend and restore a number of hit points equal to the roll's total. Your pool regains all expended dice when you finish a long rest. This is an okay feature, but it's not a fantastic feature. And basically, for one thing, with Aid and Cure Wounds, we can already restore hit points, and those two spells both restore way more hit points than Healing Light will. If we look at level 3, Healing Light, we can expand up to 3 of our dice. We'll have 4 dice total. And if we spend 3 out of 4, then we will be healing maybe 10 hit points. That is less than we would heal with a Cure Wounds. It's not going to heal that many hit points. The nice thing about healing light is because it's a bonus action and because it doesn't use a spell slot, because it's not a spell, that means that we can still use our action to cast a spell with a pack slot without any issue. And that would be nice. So you have an ally that went down and you want to get him back up. Well, you can use one of your dice, they're back up, and now you can use your action to do what you were going to do anyway. And that is nice. Also, if you really want to heal just the most hit points possible to a target, you can do a Cure Wounds with your action and then Healing Light with your bonus action on the same creature and heal a bunch. Or if you have a whole bunch of people that you want to heal a little bit to, you could cast Aid and then Healing Light and heal somebody else. So it's okay. I don't think it's fantastic because the total amount of healing isn't that high. But I do think between the spells and Healing Light, we've got 4 stars here. Not as good as Archfey at level 3, but still good. And then we're going to go to level 6, and we've got Radiant Soul, and we've got some Celestial spells. So Radiant Soul, your link to your patron allows you to serve as a conduit for Radiant energy. You have resistance to Radiant damage. That's not going to come up very often. Once per turn, when a spell you deal or that you cast deals radiant or fire damage, you can add your charisma modifier to that spell's damage against one of the spell's targets. So basically, we do a spell, it does radiant damage or it does fire damage, we add our charisma. And then we're going to add Daylight and Revivify to our spells prepared. Daylight, I think, is once in a while the spell you need. You are fighting a vampire, Daylight, wow. Otherwise, it's usually not worth a 3rd level spell slot because it's just a bunch of light. It does dispel darkness spells, I guess. If you are dealing with darkness spells, maybe it's worth it. But most of the time, it's just a big area of light. And we have a cantrip that does light, much smaller area, but nevertheless, most of the time we don't need light in that kind of area. And 3rd level is a high level spell slot for a spell that creates light. So Daylight, once in a while, a great spell. Most of the time, probably not worth a 3rd level slot. Revivify, when you need it, is definitely worth a 3rd level slot. At least a 3rd level slot. 90, hopefully more than 90% of games you will not need Revivify, which makes it a hard preparation. Like if I'm playing a cleric, I don't always prepare Revivify because it's tough to fit on your spell list. Especially considering that most of the time you don't need it. So, you could have had this spell you would definitely need, but instead I'm going to take this spell that I might need. And that's tough to do. But when it's automatically prepared, that's nice. Now, the one issue you have is Warlocks don't have a lot of pack slots, right? They have 2 pack slots at level 6, and it's going to stay 2 pack slots right to level 10. And you cast them real easy. Like most combats, you can cast both your pack slots very easily. And then if somebody dies, there is no way to get your pack slot back in time to use Revivify. Because Revivify has to be cast within a minute of the creature dying. And even with Magical Cunning, which Warlocks now have, that allows them to recover a pack slot with a 1 minute time limit, that's too long. We cannot get our pack slots back enough to cast Revivify. So that is a limitation of having Revivify on a Warlock, because it's hard for a Warlock to keep a pack slot available. Nevertheless, it is a notable spell for a Warlock to get. Now, Radiant Soul, there's one big issue with it. And the big issue is that we are, with a Warlock, only having 2 pack slots, so we're really probably only casting 2 leveled spells each short rest. The rest of the time, we're casting cantrips. Now, we have the Sacred Flame cantrip, which applies to Radiant Soul. So we can do our Charisma bonus to Sacred Flame. That doesn't necessarily make Sacred Flame even as good as Eldritch Blast, which we probably took. And so, why am I using Sacred Flame? I guess if I want to, with a Celestial Patron, I can use Sacred Flame as an alternative to Eldritch Blast, but it's certainly not better than Eldritch Blast. So most of the time, we're not getting this benefit. And it's different than this kind of feature on something like a Draconic Sorcerer. Because Draconic Sorcerer has all these spell slots, so they're just casting fire spell, fire spell, fire spell, fire spell, and they're adding that bonus over and over again. And when they aren't casting, then they're using Firebolt and they're adding it again. Here, when we're casting cantrips, if we want this benefit, we're not really getting a benefit at all. And so it really has to be with our pack slots, and there's not very many of them. The upside to this one is right here. I'm just going to highlight the part that I need to. Once per turn, when a spell you cast deals. Now, I've had a debate with people recently who read this as once per turn when you cast a spell that deals. But that's different. If it read once per turn when you cast a spell that deals this, or this, then that would mean that you must cast a spell on that turn. So if we read it that way, this subclass is going to get Wall of Fire. So what it would mean is when you cast it, then it is going to do the extra damage. But when it does damage on subsequent turns, it will not get the extra damage. But that is not how I read this. I read this as once per turn when a spell you cast deals damage. When a spell you cast is in a spell that you were the one who cast it. So I think that if you have a Wall of Fire, it can potentially do this damage over and over again. But because I've ended up in that debate with people, I do want to mention the other side of the argument. And I think they're wrong. But anyway, your table gets to decide how you interpret rules. But when it comes to how I'm rating this, I'm basing it on my interpretation. And between these two, this is still 3 stars because there are still limitations to Radiant Soul that I've just gone over, and limitations to Celestial Spells, which I've just gone over. But I think Celestial still does okay at level 6, worth 3 stars. And then we get to level 10. And we have Celestial Resilience, and it says you gain temporary hit points whenever you use your Magical Cunning feature or finish a short or long rest. These temporary hit points equal to your Warlock level plus your Charisma modifier. Additionally, choose up to 5 creatures you can see when you gain the points. Those creatures gain temporary hit points equal to half your Warlock level plus your Charisma modifier. This is very similar to the general feat Inspiring Leader, except Inspiring Leader, of course, doesn't work when you use your Magical Cunning, but Inspiring Leader doesn't half your level when you're providing those temporary hit points to other creatures. Another thing I should mention is Inspiring Leader doesn't care how many Warlock levels you have. So if you are going to multi-class your Celestial Warlock, this won't scale as fast as something like Inspiring Leader. Celestial Resilience, though, does combine very nicely with one of the free spells we're going to get. So we're going to get Guardian of Faith and Wall of Fire. Both of these spells work well with Radiant Soul because Guardian of Faith does damage over and over again, and it's Radiant, and Wall of Fire does damage over and over again, and it's Fire. Greater Restoration, one of those spells that is nice to have on your list, but it's tough to prepare because you don't know if you'll need it. And Summon Celestial is one of the better summoning spells, I would say. And it is especially nice because one of the problems with the summoning spells is they don't have 1,000,000 hit points. But we can use our Magical Cunning to use Celestial Resilience, and that's only a minute. And that means that we could cast Summon Celestial, which lasts an hour, then use our Magical Cunning, and then provide temporary hit points through Celestial Resilience, which will make our Summon Celestial tougher, which is nice. And so, overall, level 10, I mean, it's not insane, but it's okay. It's worth 3. And then we're going to have level 14, and we're going to have Searing Vengeance. There it is. And you can see, I'll just show you. It's going to be 3 stars. When you or an ally within 60 feet of you is about to make a death saving throw, you can unleash Radiant Energy to save the creature. The creature regains hit points equal to half its hit point maximum and can end the prone condition on itself. Each creature of your choice that is within 30 feet of the creature takes radiant damage equal to 2d8 plus your Charisma modifier, and each has the blinded condition until the end of the current turn. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. So, the last sentence is important. This is incredibly limited. This is not one of those ones where, or you could use a pack slot to use it again. Once you use this feature, it's done till you finish a long rest. There's also the distinct possibility that you'll go from long rest to long rest to long rest and never have the opportunity to use this feature, because it does require that you have basically an ally within 60 feet of you about to make a death saving throw. I should also mention that we're a Celestial Patron Warlock, so they're not going to have to make a death saving throw if we don't want them to. We could just use 1d6 of our healing light and they would be brought back up. So this isn't like either make a death saving throw or get this. This is, either you're recovering a d6 hit points or you're recovering all this stuff. This is why I'm giving this 3 stars, though, rather than lower, because the effect here is pretty dramatic. It doesn't just increase the creature to half its hit point maximum, which is pretty good, but it also is doing damage to surrounding creatures of your choice, no saving throw, and they're all going to have the blinded condition, no saving throw. And now the creature takes their turn, surrounded by a bunch of blinded, damaged creatures. That's pretty dramatic. So I do think this is worth 3 stars. I actually originally gave this 2 stars. But then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, nah, that's really good. Turning everything blind with no save, that is really good, even though it's so limited. So I just didn't feel comfortable with 2 stars. So I moved it up to 3, but I'd probably say this is a low 3. Nevertheless, Celestial Patron has 3 here, and then 3 at level 10 is 6, and then 3 at level 6 is 9, and then 4 at level 3 is 13. And that means the Celestial Patron is slightly above average. With a 13, it is behind the Archfey Patron. The Archfey Patron had 15 stars altogether. So it's not disastrously behind. And basically, yeah, it's a little bit above average. And I would have said it was a little below average before Xanathar's. So that's good for the Celestial Patron. And I am going to be talking about the Fiend Patron in my next video. So I hope you'll join me for that. And until then, I'm going to sit back, relax, and have some fun. D&D is for everyone. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.